Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Obvio. Hey, Muddy. Hello, Jane. There's Melanie I saw before. Ray. Lion. Very cool. Great to see you all. Hey, hey. Welcome to another week of Q&A about Obvio. You'll find the question button on the dashboard there if you have any particular questions about how you make Obvio work for what you're wanting to do. Both basic and advanced questions are acceptable. So happy to look at those. We've got a couple that have come in, but not too many. So we'll need a few more to get things going to fill in our time together. So have a think about that. Sorry, Jane, you have COVID. Hope you bounce back quickly. All right. So I've got a question from Onric, which will make more sense if he's here on this particular one, because he needs to ask some follow-up questions, which is fine. So we'll wait on that. And Carol was asking about Obi, which is actually a leap thing. So we wouldn't be going into that too much. Cool. Okay. So Lion, you has a question there. I need to find out how to change a section of background on my page. I need to find it first. So you're looking for it. Did you want to share your screen, or what are you thinking there, Lion? Let me see, make sure people can unmute. Oops. We go. You'll notice today that we haven't got Heather here. And then you'll see how much she makes everything work. Okay. In the Facebook group line, you've got, I did see something about that. I think that was something that Blue suggested some things. Let's just see. Cool. Great. If you've just joined us, welcome. We're just getting started. Please post any questions you have on the dashboard. Post a question option there. We're just looking at a background color issue for Lion. So I'm just getting into that, to the Facebook page, and just checking that. Look at me reading my own questions. All right. Okay. Okay. So you're working on the purchase page, is that right, Lion? Is that where you were? I think that might be what you were playing with. I just need to know which event this is so that I can have a look.
Yes. Can you hear me? Can I unmute to talk?
Yes. Yeah, I've got you.
Okay, perfect. So this is primarily coming up when it's on the mobile, and it's on the practice page. So it's the second one. If I double check, let me pull that up. It doesn't come up on a desktop, it only comes up on a mobile. So let
Okay.
me
As
make
in
sure.
the background issue that you're having is only coming up on mobile?
Correct.
Okay.
And I forgot how to check it on a
Oh,
mobile
okay.
on the screen.
AGL prac
Yes,
one.
Prac one. Yeah, that's my practice page that I was
Good.
doing it. Yes.
Yeah, great. It's a good way to do it. To have a separate event that you can just play around with. Okay, let's just see.
Yeah. And
And what do you see that you shouldn't? Let's have a look.
so there is, and I'm gonna pull up the screenshot or the thing for you just a second, but there's a gray section that's right above the Discover the Art of Science.
Okay, yeah,
That's
I got
gray.
it.
And in the gray section that says live virtual events, those are supposed to be black.
Okay. All right. So people can play along at home. This is what we're talking about here. So it's this bar here, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you're saying that that should just be black.
Right. And
Okay,
then the
same.
one that says live virtual events there, that should be
Same.
black as well. The gray
Okay.
behind it.
Uh-huh. Okay. So that's showing us what is going on there.
And also that blue section that said, let's make this here, that should be down a little bit. It shouldn't be covering the letters, the VCA.
Mm, which one's that? Oh, that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I think the issue there's a couple of overlapping issues. So what it is that you've got you've got this as a background image, right? This
Right.
square.
Yes.
Uh yeah, so we really tried to steer away from having text and content in a background. It's not
Okay.
to say that it doesn't that you can't sometimes make it work, but in this instance, when you're using a background with content and then also using a button on the top, um, that there's no guarantee that this won't happen on different screen sizes because it's
Gotcha.
not content aware, right? Like it doesn't know that there is text here. What it thinks is that this is just a an abstract background, and you're putting content on the top of it. So, um, so there's two ways of thinking about this. One is that you either you either don't have any content that sits on the top and it's just the background image,
Okay.
or the background image ends up just being, perhaps those lines, the border, and then you're adding this content, this logo, and you bring that in as an image. And that way, when you have a button on the top, you'll always see the image and the logo as well as the button,
Okay.
and it'll all sit together nicely. But it's the combination of the background, which is the issue there. Um,
Got it.
so I'm just checking. So let's have a look here. So that background right here, um, my thinking is that you want that to be black and not opaque. Let's just see. Might be another section as well. Let's see that might be also it. Hmm. Oh, I realized that you're not seeing what I'm the editor, but you weren't seeing that. Sorry.
Hey, is this a new store? I haven't seen it, Grant. Is this a new store? Because this is not inside the dashboard, right?
This is just a purchase page in the
Oh,
marketplace.
okay.
Yep.
Cool. I haven't used it yet, so I was asking.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, so we've made it better. Um, let me change the way I'm sharing so you can see what I'm doing there.
Okay.
Uh, coming. And if you've just joined us, welcome. Please put your questions in on the dashboard there, and we'll get to that. Just working on Lion's little challenge here on the purchase page, having a little play with that.
In case you
Uh,
didn't know, it's not sharing what you're doing any longer.
no, got you. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm
Okay.
still, still just closing everything down, getting it ready so I can share
Gotcha.
that bit. Thank you. All right, that'll help. There we go. All right. So now you can see that we did find in here, what we're looking at is this background. Here we go. Got a border there. See that border?
Yes.
So that border was on that section. If we look at that now, there you go. To see
Hmm.
that's now black. So the problem, the problem remains with using a background and putting the text over the top. So in order for things to be able to be responsive, screen size responsive, um, using backgrounds that have very specific restraints in them becomes
Mhm.
problematic. And so to me, this could be replaced with being a whole image that includes a call to action. This button could be made into the image, and instead of that image being in the background, it could just be posted as an image or placed as an image, and the whole image could be clickable as a call to action, and that way
Gotcha.
it will stay, and you won't have this issue. So as well as saying before is that another way of doing it is to just remove this logo part, the Video Content Academy part, and this text, and just leave that little background, and then have pull that to the forefront. Um, so, but I think I would just do it. I would create the image exactly the way you want it, as long as the only call to action in this whole space is just this, let's make this my year, then you can make that whole image clickable, even though you could still make this a little button. So you could just think about that. Um, that's the way that I would play around with that. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, that's cool though. Was there anything else on that you were?
No, not at the moment. That was the main thing. Everything else
Yeah,
I've been kind of figuring out with trial and error. So that
yeah,
was the
great.
main thing. And
Yeah,
that was absolutely, thank you so much. It
you're
was
welcome.
amazing.
you're, Nice. The video that you're playing there is just hasn't got quite the reaction from you that looks amazing. That's the only problem. It's a good loop.
Thank you.
Cool. You're welcome. All right. Let's have a look. People will be aware that we haven't got Heather here. And so wrangling the questions and keeping me on task.
I'm here. Oh, there, Heather.
Nice, Heather. Clever. Yes. So take a little bit more. Have we got Onrek here yet? Nope. All right, all good.
I could be your assistant if you need me to. I got you.
Thank you.
I
No, it's
got
all
you.
good. It's all good. We'll get through okay. We've only got a few questions there. So Ganilla, is it? Ganilla? Is it possible to remove the dollar sign from the purchase price? Somehow my Stripe is connected to SEK and $1 is one SEK. Okay. So the price gets very confusing for the customer. Yes, not. Not yet. We're trying to add different currency support. Let me just double check if we've got that in there yet. Yeah, so at the moment it is just dollars. But that's a really valid point, particularly when the exchange rate is the same. But I guess, I guess at the moment you'd need to be explicitly saying that it's US dollars, and then that will hopefully clear up the confusion for anyone that that it is in US dollars, and that's why the dollar sign is there. So it's an interesting one because we do need to have some more currency support. We have found that we tend to be US dollars centric because often our events are global, and so then we're needing to use one currency, and to keep that more straightforward. Oh, you meant to say one US is 10 SEK. Yeah. So I'd be putting in a few more notes that it's in US dollars. And the going through Stripe, it'll still be able to be paid in krona. It'll just convert to US dollars. That way, it doesn't actually matter where people are coming from. They're all just paying in the converted US dollars, and that means that there's just a one price that you're able to list then. So, yeah, we'd like to be able to. I'm making a note actually that we'd like to be able to add some more currency support. It's a tricky one because how you manage multiple currencies. So yeah, as Muddy's just showing, like, some notes along the page that just says that it's in US dollars, and then it helps that there is dollar signs there. So that's how I would manage it at the moment, until such time as we might have some different currency support. Cool. See what else we have here. Muddy, what's required for sending SMS? I'm working on a client event, and for some reason SMS does not show up as an option. Yeah, it does have to be turned on. I think James that didn't get resolved. At least you didn't see that yet, Muddy.
No, I submitted the ticket last night. I hadn't seen anything. Actually, just as a call was getting started, I was corresponding with James, and he said that he talked with Blue about it, but hadn't heard anything back yet. So he didn't have an update.
Okay,
And
I did
we
see-
suspect it may have something to do with the payment more so than permissions. Although
maybe.
as John, this is for John Taylor McIntyre, and he's a leaper, so it should be turned on in his account.
It depends.
Um,
It depends on when he signed up.
okay.
Let me
Organization is Mutual Prosperity.
Okay.
And
Okay.
for just as you're looking at that, when you within Obvio, you're able to send messages to your attendees, and when you go to create those broadcasts, there's a line item there that says channel, and you choose between email or SMS. And email is free. It's included there, and that is showing up correctly for me. And we've scheduled several email reminders. But we also want to send an SMS reminder 15 minutes before we're starting, and that one actually says doors are open, we're live, come and join us. And even for me, getting email reminders, I find the SMS reminders are the ones that pull me to action more. So, as I understand in Obvio, one of the reasons we need to have a credit card on file, that it prompts us to put a credit card in, is because SMS is one of those things that has a small charge associated with it. I think it's $1 or $2 per message or per broadcast, plus like 3 cents, 2 or 3 cents per person in the US, and I think 10 cents per person abroad or something like that. So it's not a huge expense for a small event, and it's certainly worth it for our case. But as I'm working with John on this, for some reason, we're not seeing it as an option. So that's what I'm asking about. Yep.
No, you're exactly right. So I found it, and I've just added it. So if you refresh, you should see.
It was an account level permissions.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Great. So let me refresh right now. I'll come into communication, into broadcast. I'm going to say new broadcast. And now I have the option for SMS. Fantastic.
Wow. Look at that. Things are working.
Nice work.
Great. Thank you. All right. Let's have another look at some questions here. So people were just posting questions on the dashboard there. I'm running solo, so I'm a little bit slower than my typical slow speed. All right.
Well, it looks like we have Justin James and NASA right now. He's got the picture of NASA.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Look at his pictures. Looks like he's major control center, Houston.
He's in the control center. Yeah, exactly. And then
Nice.
Muddy can show his as well. There you go.
Okay. All right. Muddy one upped him. I mean,
well,
I don't know. They're kind of similar. I have 2 screens, and I think that's like a lot.
Yeah, it's very cool. You can never have enough screens. All right, and Heather, you had something there. You want to talk through that?
Yeah. So I reached out to so I have a pro account through Leap. I have 2 organizations, and I have a client on one organization called Fortress, and they're using Go High Level. And what we're doing is doing leads from Facebook, all on Go High Level, not using Marketplace. And then we're removing them because we're doing leads. So we're just kind of removing tags. Everything's been fine. All of a sudden in the last week, it happened last night, it happened last Friday, where they're getting blocked. They're like, you've exceeded your limit. but the limit is 750 attendees, and we're kind of hovering around 200. So today they got blocked. I couldn't get in. They couldn't get in. I don't know what's happening. What we did is we first went to Go High Level to make sure that Go High Level was pulling off the tag, Obvio tag, and it was. So I'm thinking there's something going on with the sync with Go High Level and Obvio. Justin, was that you, Justin? I was talking to today. I don't know if it was. It was a Justin.
I think it was James that you might have been.
Oh, it was James. Okay.
Yep.
So the way he has an event tonight, so the way that we just like handled it for now, because we had to get in there, was we paid an extra $100 to like increase the limit.
Right.
But I wanted to ask you if you see anything on your side. We don't want to have that again. It's happened last Friday. It's happened again. They're doing an event like every day. So it's like.
And when you're seeing so I'm seeing 180 attendees in there now.
Correct.
And so you feel like you weren't doing anything different in Go High Level. You were just untagging them.
Yeah, we've had this set up for about a month, maybe two, kind of. So everything's been kind of smooth. The number that right now it's 180. That is the correct number. Earlier today, when I think it got triggered. It got triggered at 200. So what's the number? What's the max for that particular organization?
Well, so a standard on the pro account is 500 checked in users, right? So checked in attendees, sorry. And so it must have been at that level for some reason, must have been sitting at over 500, and then actually 750, but you don't think it was?
No, we're kind of hovering around 200, like 180, 200. It's like that little number. No, even when after I paid the $100, I was just because we had to get to it. I was like, here, just throw $100 on it to open it up because I could not get out of the blocked access. Even when I did that, when I logged in, the number was at 209. I was like, that shouldn't be triggering it. That was how many of your attendees were inside of that event. And as of right now, that account doesn't have another event on. So that's really it for the entire of.
Right.
Yeah. So I wasn't thinking maybe there was a combo, but right now there isn't another, what I call active event. So it was at 209. So no, that's why I'm here today going, what's kind of happening? Maybe there's an issue with the API with Go High Level. Anyone else having that? To fix it, I just added the money and then we cleared it, right? So we cleared it and then we added everything. That's what we did to fix it.
Right. Okay. I'm going to check
now, but wanted to see what you saw on the back end there.
Yeah.
And wanted to also confirm that the number is 500 right now. I just paid $100. Can you check if it's 600 now because I added the $100 or
it'll be 750. It'll be 750. And so we'll see. So it goes up in 250 increments.
Oh, got it. And is it for that organization? Because I have my account in two organizations. Is it just for that organization or is that a total?
It gets applied to the event at the time that it needs it. So if it needed it, then it got applied to that event.
That event, not the organization. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. So but I've made a note, and I'll we're looking into that, and I'll refund that 100 that you did as well. So we'll get that.
Thank you. Because they're definitely not hitting 500. We're watching it.
It's definitely accumulative, and so we've got to see whether the untagging that could take a little bit of time. And so if there were previous events and the accumulative number was over 500,
right? Okay.
Then doing the untag and then waiting for it to to sync first to get rid of all of those, and then also to then register the fact that it's now not over 500, and that taking some time. So I don't know whether it could have been a timing issue on that. So, but we'll look into that a little bit more, because it's a bit of an edge case. But what all I can suggest is to keep on top of untagging people, to make sure that that's happening well within time for the system to recalibrate and then say, okay, yeah, it's definitely now under 500. So keeping on top of untagging them.
Absolutely. And to answer your question, Justin, no, we do not have tech check turned on, because this is kind of a cold traffic thing. So they're just kind of being tagged, being put in. Great question.
So
The
reason I asked is Grant mentioned earlier, it's 500 checked in attendees, which I took as if tech check is on and you haven't checked them in, you wouldn't hit the 500 limit. Is that what it actually means, Grant?
No, not quite. So it's unfortunately we've got kind of overlapping terminology. So there's tech checked, so that they've been tech checked is a flag, and then checked in happens regardless of whether they are doing tech check or not, and it's the first time that they hit the dashboard. So when they go to the dashboard, they are flagged as checked in. And so there is actually two flags that happen. If tech check is turned on, then tech checked at a timestamp, and then checked in at timestamp. And checked in is whatever the process was to get them to the dashboard, which might be nothing, or it might be having tech checked. Then that's the flag. And so, but yeah, that's
okay. So I'm looking at my stats right now, but we already cleared it out. So this isn't exactly accurate. However, I see what you're saying. So I'm looking at the stats, and we just uploaded the new 180, so we have 1% checked in, so that doesn't really count. But what you're saying is perhaps before we cleared it out, technically we had 500 checked in.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, that's possible. Highly possible.
Yeah, and then the time frame between it clearing out and might have been that you had over 500 at that time, and it wasn't until untagging a bunch of people that it went below, and then it was okay. So I think it could be just an overlapping of time.
Okay. We need to, but us clearing it out, like we basically cleared everything out. That kind of reset everything, it looks like.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and if you if you do that with it, kind of as soon as you can in a way, then you'll know that when it comes to using it again, that you're all good to go. So try that and let us know if that doesn't happen. That's my hypothesis at the moment. So but we'll keep having a little look, because we've flagged it now, so we'll have a little look.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Yeah, great.
Okay, thanks guys.
No problems. Sure. All right. Now we have Amy. What's the best way to get doctors to keep their cameras on during the meeting? I'm thinking that people who keep cameras on get leaderboard prizes. Yeah. There's a few things like that. I think that the engagement level absolutely goes up with their cameras on. I think one thing is, the more that you engage with people that have their cameras on, that becomes an incentive in itself. And so referring to people, that have their cameras on, like you're almost that you're only engaging with the people that have their cameras on. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like that. That helps. I think breakout rooms sort of help as well, where little breakout room sessions where people go in together, and then they turn their cameras on for that. But it is about setting up the event as well. And so I think there is something about creating space for people. Like, lots of people are spending, a lot of time in Zoom in Zoom calls one way or another, and they possibly are not having their cameras on, and it's just, here we are, it's another Zoom meeting, and I don't want to have my camera on, and so setting up your event as not just another Zoom meeting, I think is really key. So it's like, here we have an opportunity that all of us with this common interest have joined at this moment in time. So what's going to be your choice right now? Is this just another thing that you're doing and you're ticking the box for the day? It's like another Zoom meeting, and you just, you're kind of letting it wash over you, and you're not really engaging so you can do a bunch of emails and other stuff? Or are you making a definitive decision that you are engaging with this, and that you're not just here to consume, but you're here to contribute? And if that's you, then turn on your camera and show me that that's you. Like, let's do this together. You've set aside some time. We've set aside some time. Let's clear our plate, clear our minds, and focus on this one thing in front of us, and let's do it together. So let's have our cameras on, wave at me, wave at each other. Let's see how we are. We have this moment, we have this moment together. You see how some of that language just starts to set it up as something different. And I think you still won't get everyone. But I think you get more. I think you get more because you're offering up the challenge. And you're saying, let's really engage with this together. This is a unique opportunity. Every time we do this sort of thing, it's totally unique, where it's, I think we've just gotten used to the fact that we're just connecting across the globe with people that have a common interest is amazing. It's incredible. But the fact that you can go from, writing an email, some business call, something else, then clicking onto this, then you're, it's very different to how people used to go to in-person events, or people that still do go to in-person events, where they've spent a couple of days getting there, and then they're going into registration, and they're going into the ballroom 30 minutes early, and they're sitting. All of that is very different, but it has a lot of value. And that's why sometimes on our events, the pre-show is really important. Allowing people to come in 30 minutes early and have some good music, and ideally you have a host that's have an MC or something is amazing, because they can do some of that setup, and you can separate, you can make it, you can make this a different thing. So I'm assuming all the people that have their cameras off are on the toilet. So that's my assumption today. If not, then yeah, there's something to that. Call it out, call it out and pull it out of the people. Whereas, like, if you're here, if you like, let's not do this with half energy. Clear your plate, clear your mind, take a second, focus in on what we're doing, and respect the time of everyone here, and really engage. You don't want to, tell people off. It's not about that. It's saying, if you're here, be present. Set up your tech in a way that it's not distracting, but it's helping you to engage. So, full screen things, push your phone away for a little bit. Let's make this a priority. This is the priority right now for this next 60 minutes, 4 hours, whatever it is. Let's engage. Does that help? It's just it's
Absolutely.
often
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very. Yeah. So for my next webinar, can you come MC it, please? It's Wednesday next week.
Yeah, that there is there is just something about that, because remember too, this all plays into that we're not limited by time and space in our meetings, in these events. And so try not to be apologetic about the time that you're taking with people. It's very easy for people to leave if they need to. But the people that have come are there and they're ready to engage, and they don't need to feel like, oh, look, we've only got 10 minutes left. So let's just rush through this last little bit. I'm conscious of everyone's time. I was like, that's what we're here in a business meeting. We want to get back to all of our emails and all the busyness. And this is just another annoyance in your day. No, this is a unique opportunity. And we're going to go on a journey together now. And do you know what? That might take an extra 20 minutes than we thought. And in that 20 minutes, it could be life-changing. I don't say that loosely. It honestly could be. As we engage with what we're doing today, this could be a moment that really changes the course for your business life, X, whatever it is. It could be a significant change. And is that worth an extra 20 minutes than you thought it was going to take? Yeah. And if you really need to go, you go. But the people that stay, I mean, they're really going to lean in. When you say that, when you say, yeah, we've got some real specific work to do here, and we're going to cover off these things, and we're going to have some question time. But I want you to be prepared that some of this, the interaction that we have, the content that we look at right now, could bring about significant change in your life, in your business, your whatever. So I think that sets it up differently, right? And when you, as a host, when you have that weight of expectation, it changes the way you present as well. You're like, wow. I mean, I'm not just offering up a couple of things here. No, for you and for you and for you and for you and for you, this is a moment right now. Let's just take this in. We've connected from around the world in all the busyness of life. We've connected about this one particular topic. And there's some great stuff here. And we could share some things together as well. And some of your questions, remember this, engage with people's questions. Read other people's questions in the chat, because a question from somebody else could spark an answer in you or another question from you, and that could lead to the answer that you're looking for about something else. And so now it's like, wow, this really is amazing. And now I don't care about the Facebook notification, because we've got a moment now. I don't want to miss it. So turn on your cameras and show us, because the more people we see, the better this will be. So, and so I just say that on the flip side. That's at the start. On the flip side, I've talked before about the parking lot conversation, and that's the idea that I'm touching on that a little bit. It's the idea that some people are going to want to leave the moment it's finished. Like the moment you've said, okay, that's it, they're going to leave. Some people will want to get as much as they possibly can from this experience, and they will hang around longer. And the comparison is, if you were doing this in person, they were all in this ballroom, and then you said, okay, we're finished, people will naturally, some people will exit, straight away, but lots of people will turn to the people around them and they'll have a chat, and then they'll walk out into the foyer and they'll continue chatting, and then they'll go to the parking lot. And in the parking lot, there'll be people that are standing at cars talking for another hour, right? It is what happens. And so I think the worst thing that we can do on our events is we say, okay, thanks everyone. That's it. We're finished. End meeting. Bang. And essentially, I think what happens there is you've just pushed everyone out. You've literally just gone into the ballroom. You've got 12 security guards, and you've just pushed them all out. Right? Whereas there often is no reason why you can't just have. Do you know what we're going to do? And there's a few different ways you can do this now, right? Breakout rooms is an amazing opportunity. I'll just give you an example where we've said, all right, event's finished, but we want to create some parking lot sessions now. And in the chat, just say if you've got time, you want to hang around for 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever, and you'd love to chat with some people, what sort of topics would you like to talk about? And people will say, I want to talk about A. I'd love to talk about B. I'd love to talk about some D. And it's like, great. Okay, we can see some topics here. We're going to create some breakout rooms with these topics. Here's the topics. There's 5 topics that we've chose from and this depends on your audience size too, right? So if you've got a smaller group, I still think that you want to do a ratio of where about 10 people, right? So one breakout room per about 10 people I think works great, because then that the 10 people up to sort of 20 people will sit in that breakout room and have a good discussion. If you've got 100 people, 100 people are not going to engage in a discussion in a breakout room, right? But 20 people, 30 people, 10 people. So you've got an event with 50 people, and you're like, okay, I'm planning to make 5 breakout rooms, topics pulled from. Now you might have some ideas of topics anyway for your particular audience, but you're pulling from the chat. Someone said they want to talk about zebras, and someone talks about they want to talk about bears. And so we've made a breakout room called zebras and one called bears. And then we've checked the option that says allow people to choose their breakout room. And now you just teach people how this works. They press the breakout room button, they see those breakout rooms and go to the one that's of interest to you. You can also switch around, move around. In the same way that if you are standing out in the foyer, you see those people that will float from one little group, a huddle, and they'll. Now, the genius, I think, of this is that in a foyer environment where there's a group of 5 people standing around, often it's very difficult to break into that group. And so you might try to be listening a little bit, but you're not really in that group. In a breakout room environment, you're in. You're equal. You're equal. Everyone's equal in that group, and they're having that discussion. So anyway, my point is, we have seen this work really, really well on some events just recently. It took basically nothing to organize, right? It took you an extra 5 minutes at the end of the event. People that go will go, but there'll be a bunch of people that would love to hang around, just chat and just debrief the session that they had. And that builds incredible engagement and the community. And ultimately what you're working towards is people all leave when they're ready to leave. They weren't kicked out by security. And I think that's a tip in general for all of your meetings. You'll notice for me on this meeting, I don't end it straight away. I wait until everyone's left. And then inevitably there'll be 1 or 2 people that are like, clearly they've walked away from their computer, and right. And so that. But when 95% of the people have left is when I end the meeting. And that feels different because they chose to leave. They didn't get pushed out by security. Anyway, so you got me on a rant thinking about the end of your event, but it's all related to engagement. And what we found doing this at the end of each day of a 3-day event is that people came back raving about that time. On day 2, they come back and they say, I had an amazing discussion with people after the event last night. And this is us combating some of that. Oh, it's not the same. The networking's not the same. Like when you're online, it was like, well, the networking could be better online than it is in person. If you do, some of these types of ideas where you give the opportunity for people to rub shoulders and compare notes and debrief and, things like that. So, and then it just takes a little, perhaps you schedule people to just keep an eye on them on the meeting. You only need one person at that point. You don't need the AV team, don't need any production, nothing. It's just a Zoom meeting with some breakout rooms and a host that maybe pops in and out of some rooms and make sure that the conversation is civil. But at that point, you're not, in the same way that you don't feel responsible for the parking lot conversations that go on at an in-person event. You're not responsible for, for that. You don't have to manage all of that. You've just created a space for people to hang out. All right, I've stopped my rant.
Grant, can I add 3 quick little things?
Yeah, please.
So I am trained as a facilitator and helping people find agreement on complex issues. And as I was listening and thinking about your question, there are 3 really practical things that occurred to me that I wanted to share as tips. The first is, and Grant has demonstrated this in our meeting, is that the host sets the energy. So as the host, you need to come in. If you come in with energy, that will help elevate the energy of the group. And that really is not only the host, but the MC as well, right? So the very first person that picks up the mic and begins to welcome people, that becomes the baseline energy level. So I think that's one practical thing to understand. And I think I've heard Blue say you're being you, but just amped up a little. You're just you're not being inauthentic. You're still being you, but just kind of dialed up to 11. The second thing I would say is that the culture of the meeting is established right from the beginning. So if you come in, if someone comes in and begins just presenting for the first 15 minutes, right, the interaction drops down. So those first couple of moments, talking to people, even Grant again demonstrated in this meeting when he said, welcome. He called several people out by name, right? Hey, good to see you. Good to see you. And we kind of eased in, but it created the feeling for the meeting. And so those, they call them icebreakers, but those things that you're doing right in the beginning, helping people engage, having people put in the chat, where are they from, with these really easy questions. They're not deep, they're not vulnerable. You're just saying hi, say hi in the chat, let us know where you're from. Those kinds of things help set the culture of engagement for the meeting. And the third thing I have found is that while close friends may rib each other, and Blue and Grant have that energy when they're together, and Blue's like, oh, we can't understand what you're talking about there, Grant. And when close friends have that, what I have found is in groups, even if you are close with a few people, unless everybody has that energy, any kind of ribbing or critical comment, even in jest, really turns off engagement. So I try and pull all that back, and I'm only using encouraging words. I'm not saying, oh, looks like you're driving in the car. What's that all about? It's like, nope, that person turns off their camera, never to be seen again in the meeting, right? So you're really just encouraging people and helping lower that bar. So anyway, those were 3 things: energy, starting from the beginning, and holding back any critical comments. So thanks for letting me share.
That's really good, Muddy. I love that. And yeah, shame turns people away. It totally does. And it's a way of, if you use that, the driving in the car and as an example, something that I'd be thinking about is, hey, I wonder what's going on for you, Muddy, right now. You've had to go in the car. I am sure that the last thing you wanted to do right now was be in the car. So it's so awesome that you're still wanting to connect with us. That's amazing. And I hope whatever's going on for you right now, that you're going to be able to stop at some point and be able to connect with us. That's amazing. So it's good to have you with us, and thanks for having your camera on as well. We can see where you're at. You know, that type of thing just spins that whole thing around and is encouraging, and it's reaching out to them. Yeah, I love that sort of stuff. So it's interesting on these sorts of calls. It's something that I try to sort of pride myself on, is we can get bogged down in the tech, you know, and we can lose sight sometimes of what's really most important. And it's not to say that the right color button and the placement of the button on the dashboard is not important. I think it is, but let's have it right sized against, sometimes we spend more time on the things that don't matter because we're nervous about the big things. And so we use up all of our time getting into the details about things that don't matter because we're scared, or we don't know how we're going to tackle those big things. So you think about it in this way. When you're about to go into your event, at that point, is that the best time for you to be tweaking the colors of the button? Or would it be better for you to be getting in the zone and just settling yourself and thinking about some of these engagement strategies for when they get into the Zoom meeting? That's going to have the biggest impact, because at the end of your session, at the end of the day, people are not going to say, gee, that color of that button was amazing. That dashboard, you know, they're not going to say that. They're going to say, wow, the connection that I had with Onric that time, the connection I had with Muddy then, you know, Melanie delivered that amazing. I really felt connected to her, and I feel like this is a really special moment. It's going to be the humanity that they experience, albeit through the technology. That's going to be the takeaway for them. And so it's a challenging one, because it's a tech platform. And I can say all of that, and then Heather comes on and says, I couldn't get in because we had 700 people in the thing. And so we've got to balance it, right? But you got me started. You got me fired up today, thinking about what are the most important things. And these are the things that are kind of the coaching that comes out, is let's focus the most amount of our time on the things that really make a big difference. The color makes me want to give more money. That's right. You were just trying to find the exact color that would inspire opening the wallet. That's cool.
Well, thank you, Grant. That was awesome. Very inspirational.
Oh, good. Well, thank you.
And Muddy, thank you for your tips.
Yeah, it makes a difference. And I think that we definitely have seen, since COVID, the idea of doing a video call is just commonplace now, right? Like you're doing video calls all day, some of these people. And so how do you set this up differently? This is not a business meeting. You haven't been dragged here. You've chosen to be here. So let's do it. Let's really engage. It's good. Cool. Onric, you sent a message about tags and groups. Should we dive into that?
Only if you feel like it. I mean, you can. It's not urgent. I've just got a new event coming in October that I'm currently getting ready for, and previously I haven't really messed with the whole VIP groups. So this time I'm definitely doing VIP groups. So they are going to have different content and different events. So I've got to, and I really love figuring all this stuff out myself, but I don't want to go 7 days in the wrong direction when I could have done it with groups instead of tags. So if you don't mind, and if the time is convenient for it, you can delegate me, you can push it off if it's not convenient. To just let me grab a few notes, and I'm sorry I was late.
It was noted.
Yeah, it was noted.
It was noted.
I am always in
And look,
trouble.
if I get bored with this topic, I'll let you know and I'll move on.
Just move on. Yeah, just move on, because I'm fairly accustomed to building dashboards and stuff like that, so that part is
Yes.
cool.
Yes, you are.
The challenge comes in for me when we're doing the synchronization with Go High Level, or if I should go Zapier to not only allocate the tags but allocate the groups, so that my VIPs can get obviously a different button and a different type of content.
Yeah.
So
Focus. Let's work backwards from that experience.
Yeah.
So you would like to have you have sort of general admission and you have VIP. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or is there more than that?
No, that's it. That's it.
Okay. And you would like VIP to, would they be going into a different Zoom area, or it's just
No,
different content they see?
I mean, generally, unless you tell me otherwise, you would just put them into their own rooms. No, let me rephrase that. Obviously, I want to have a different label behind them, right? So I want to have VIP plus behind their names, and that I've done before in the past with emojis and with tags.
Okay.
But they are going to get access to different Zoom rooms, or not different areas at different times for like VIP Q&A and that kind of stuff. So should I do that through groups or through tags?
Okay, so let me explain the difference.
Okay.
It's likely, and there's a lot of overlap between tags and groups. Where the difference is it's kind of what they're called multi-dimensional. So it means that there's for groups, you can have multiple data connected to a sort of a label. So if we think of it in terms of, if you wanted to store the city that people are in, you can create a group called city, and now we've got New York, LA, Adelaide, Sydney. Different people have all those, and it's all stored within that group. Now, if you wanted to show something, a button on the dashboard, or a resource, or a blog post that was just for people in New York, then you can say group city equals New York, and now show that, right? Now, in the same way, though, you could have a tag that just says, I'm going to tag everyone that's from New York with a tag called New York. And for visibility, I'm now just going to say, if the tag exists, New York, then show this data. Okay, so see how they're both basically the same at that point. Where it gets different is where we might want to use a label. A label is an example where you can use a group, and you can append the whole group. So now you can say, I want to append the city name to the end of people's names in Zoom. So I'm going to put curly bracket city, curly bracket, and that's going to now append to Grant. It'll say Adelaide, and then other people in New York, and different names will get that data will get appended to that. So that's one place that groups can work, that is different. And then things like, it can be an organization, a way of organizing your data to where you might want to say ticket type. So the group ticket is GA, or it's VIP, and that can help organize it in your mind in the way that you're doing your data. So rather than managing lots of tags, you've now just got one field, a group, that is saying ticket, and within ticket there's GA and there's VIP. So there's a couple of other places where groups come into play that is not what we're talking about now. And so in what you're talking about, and with Go High Level, and Muddy, you could help me out with this, but I would think that High Level is using lots of tags and is probably easier to use the tag method for this VIP, GA. And the GA is default anyway, so it doesn't need to be tagged GA. You only have to tag your VIPs,
VIP, yeah.
right? And so then at that point, now whatever you want to do with your VIPs, and that can be that you want to create a button, a Zoom button for a Q&A, a VIP Q&A session. Now it's just the visibility tag. The tag is present that is VIP. That exists, the tag for that person. Does that sort of make sense? The differences there?
No,
Somewhat.
it does. I mean, I sent you the link to the event, so you know which event I'm dealing with, and I assume
Okay.
you guys can get access to the stuff, can't you?
Yes. Yep. For this reason.
Yeah. So I'm about
Be able to help.
50% down the rabbit hole with that particular Obvio dashboard.
Okay.
And I've
Looks
built
cool.
everything that's for the general admission in that sense.
You happy for me to share this? Can I share?
Yes, absolutely. No, it's I find we always learn so much out of this kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's really cool.
And then I'll talk you through that because I have another one in my bootlegger cafe that I'm having all sorts of challenges with, mainly because Zoom is pulling the name always out of the same place. But we'll get to that later. But yeah, no, share this one. And then if you don't mind giving us a quick little intensive lesson on how to do tags and groups in that.
Yeah. Great. So from an attendee point of view, it's straightforward that the tag. Let me just.
So there's nobody in there yet. Nobody's registered.
Great.
It's hot off the press. There's one user in there, which is me.
You.
But
yeah,
you feel free to play with it and mess it up.
No problems. Cool. Yeah, I'm always conscious of sharing everyone's email addresses. So
yeah. No, that's why I thought I'd use a new one.
Yeah. So this is a good example. We're remembering always that all we need as a bare minimum is first name, last name, and email. And so now, when it comes to tags, we can High Level is going to manage this automatically to be able to do the tags, but just seeing it from the raw, from how it kind of works as a basic, we can put in VIP. The key thing here to remember is you need to hit enter for that to register that it's that it is a tag. And the reason for that is that you could have spaces in your tag, right? And so it needs to know, have you finished writing the tag? It can't, and that's why. But it's a trap for young players, right? Because it when you put the tag in and you hit save, it hasn't been told that's the end, and so it doesn't save anything.
And Grant, let me just pause you quick at that point. So obviously, the tags are going to come in there not only from the Go High Level Obvio API, but the tags can also be added based on whichever product they bought, right? So they bought the ticket and then they bought the VIP ticket. So that's where the tag is suddenly going to appear via Stripe, via Go High Level or whatever, and then show up here.
That's true. Yep. Depending on how you've got all that set up. Exactly. There's the different ways of getting it into the attendee record is how that will appear, the VIPs. Now, for lots of these, there isn't any limit on how many tags there can be, and particularly Keep is crazy with all its tags, and they're all numbers. And so there can be hundreds of tags that people have. And so you don't have to worry about that. But if it's simply just VIP, then now when we look at we go back to the dashboard here. So have you already got something here that you would want?
So that bar
Yeah.
button, the bar American, that's for VIPs only, right?
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, great. So now we've got a button. It's enabled. That's important to see, right? And then we're going to rules, and we call these like visibility rules. It's like who gets to see this, and so
Or
now
what time.
that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a few advanced level moves in there, but the key thing here is like tags and groups. And so we're saying tags, and you can say we're going to exclude people, right? And so that can be really helpful sometimes. It's like I don't want VIPs to see this particular thing, for example. You know? And that's how you can get to it. If you're not tagging everyone with GA, then a way to customize the view for GA is to exclude VIP. It's just thinking about that logic. But in this case, we just want to say the tag includes VIP.
Yeah.
And that's what it says.
Yeah, so for everybody else there, you see the second button underneath crushing at main stage, right? That's the ramp up speakeasy. That's actually my high ticket offer Zoom area opening. So that I will only show after I've made the invitation. Otherwise, that button just distracts people. So I haven't done that yet, but it's still disabled.
Exactly. So, yeah. And that can be a very appropriate way of handling that. We sort of we didn't add time for a long time for that reason, in that I was talking before about we're not limited by time and space. So don't lock yourself down to midday is exactly when that button needs to appear, because you may not want it to beat you to the punch. And so you might not be talking about it until 12:15, and that's when you want the button to appear. And having someone on your team just go and hit that enable button is a very appropriate and effective way of doing it. You know?
Yeah, and I've helped a lot of the new leapers, with this stuff, and the whole timing and stuff just messed with them. I'm like, you know what? Make yourself a note, go in there at lunchtime and turn it on. It's simpler. Yeah.
So remember the preview is going to do the most basic of views. So it's we're seeing preview now. We're not seeing that button because we're not VIP. Now you can add in here a tag and say, let's add VIP to this view. Oops.
Okay.
Hang on, let me see. Sorry. To do the same thing. Sorry, and then now we're right. So now I added the tag in the preview, just for the preview option, to be able to see what it would look like for a VIP.
Gotcha.
And so now we saw that. And so now the best way, though, always, is that not actually clear all? Let's see. There we go. The best way is always to have a test attendee. This is a VIP, and it depends if you've got other steps turned on, but this should go. Yeah. Okay. So this is a great way to test, right? Like it is testing exactly what the process will be for your attendees. And so now I'm testing, I've got VIP, and so I see that button there. And so then create a couple of attendees that have the different setups or sort of the different combinations of tags or groups and things, and be able to test it exactly like that to see how that works, so that you make sure you're seeing the things that you want to and not seeing the other things. So Justin, did you want to add anything to this, or have you got a question?
So to add to this, I think the big thing on between groups and tags, they just get everything, where a group you have to specifically pull it in. A spot where I do use groups is one of my clients actually wants to see the state at the end of the name. And so that's actually the field in Go High and so I pull that one in to have a group so I can display it in the label without having to have 52 check if they have this tag. And other than that, I find tags to be the place to go if you're coming out of something like Go High Level.
Yeah, because if you saw on my check-in process, right? So in the check-in form, I make the people classify what kind of client they are, and that puts it, I can then put that behind their label in Zoom. So when a private banker asks me a question about capital raising versus an entrepreneur who's building a business, same question, slightly different pivot on the answer so that I'm speaking in their language, right? So that's basically how I've used tags before, but now that it's coming to the whole VIP thing, I wanna get this right. And I was confused between the groups and the tags.
Yeah, I would tag them because chances are inside of Go High Level, you're probably going to tag them with VIP so you can run some kind of an automation sequence to give them different messaging.
Yes.
So you've already got the tag. No sense in having to remember a group and a tag. Just remember the group for all the visibility rules.
Yep.
Or not the group, sorry, the tag for all the visibility rules.
Yeah. Yeah, because especially I can make some of these buttons disappear because if you're already VIP, we don't need to show you another upgrade to VIP button.
And you know what? This makes such a big difference in making your dashboard dynamic. It makes it more engaging for people because the moment that they see, this is a VIP section. Oh, I only get access to this because I'm VIP. Things like that are really great. And I love the debrief stuff you've got here, these videos. Having content change each day on the dashboard is really amazing. It changes the way people view the dashboard. Otherwise, they come back to it and it's exactly the same as the day before. They just tune out, right? Whereas when you've got up to date kind of content there, it makes a huge difference. So that's really cool. And then you can fine tune that as well as much as you want because you can create a VIP debrief, as well, right? So there's lots of things that you can do.
Yeah, this stuff is still in there from the previous event because I just cloned it. I thought it's easier than start from scratch, So it's not totally. It's not kind of cool. Yeah, and it's also like the certificate's going to be slightly different based on VIP and so on, right? No, I love that.
You're using all the tricks, Henrik. It's very cool.
I love this. I love Obvio. It's like, but I was giggling at what you were saying earlier. I will tinker and play with it because it's like this wonderful distraction that I can use that I don't have to go out there and talk to real people. I prefer my dogs.
I know it is a temptation, right? It's the toy that the cat's playing with, and continue messing around with it. But it is holding that in the intention because when you create a really engaging dashboard, it helps to extend your event, right? It extends your event from it lives before your event has started.
Yeah.
It plays a key part during your event, and crucially, it continues to play on after your event.
I thought so Russell did it very well in his last event because you're constantly going in and out, into school and then back into the dashboard, and then the dashboard has changed, and then you're upgrading, and then you're buying this, and it's constant. I thought that was just a piece of poetry in motion, except that throughout the whole event, his Zoom quality was not coming through in HD, and I'm like, somebody give me tech support on the phone, man. Yeah.
And do you know what? You're the vast minority of the people that would even notice.
Yeah. No, right? No, I mean, the trick that you taught me about pinning somebody and then full screening them is forcing that HD makes a real difference. I mean, it really does make a big difference.
That's cool.
Well, thank you very much for that advice.
Yeah, that's great. And that if we were to say what is Obvio, a key thing about Obvio is a home for your event for before, during, and after. And so it creates an anchor for your event that is not just reliant on Zoom. And so when you think of it like that, what do I want people to have access to and to experience before, during, and after? And if you think of it like that, then now you're customizing it and thinking what serves those people best. It's not just a button to get into Zoom. It's also what's the content that would help them? What sets them up? If I give them access to the dashboard 2 days before, what would I like them to know and to hear and to have? And then during the event, what would help them during the event and then a break or things like that? And then after the event, the calls to action or the reminders or things that would help them in the next step of your process. And so that's a big key. And I still don't think that there's much else like it. And that's why we continue to develop it in the way that we are. So
yeah,
cool, great.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Grant.
Very welcome. All right, I'll go back to see what other questions have come in. Blue couldn't make it today. He's in Vegas, living it up. No, he's working on an event. but I'm sure. So okay. So I'm just getting back to the questions. It's the problem when you start looking at other people's dashboards. I lose mine.
Wait till you see what I did with the Bootlegger Cafe, where everybody's in there with an alias and a disguise, and it is hilarious. That's all running in Obvio, by the way. It's amazing
cool.
what you can do with it. It is cool. It's really cool.
That's great.
The part that's really messed with everything is because I'm trying to have people's aliases show up on Zoom screen, right? And it was all going well until I realized that there are some of my clients in there, and now it's synchronizing with Go High Level. So now they're in my mastermind, and I know there's probably kids present, and you don't like cursing, but one of the guys chose a really bad alias about 2 dogs that are doing something bad, right? And he shows up in my $100,000 mastermind with that on Zoom the next week, and I'm like, oh God. Anyway, so that was fun in games. I haven't fixed that yet, but
it's not ideal.
I need your help for that. but check out the dashboard when you have a moment, okay?
Yeah, a bit of filtering that's needed there, right?
Yeah, it's a little rough. It's a little rough place in there. It's a real speakeasy.
Right. All right. We have no more questions that are in there, which the timing is about right, because I need to do a school run this morning to drop off the kids, so I'll need to do that soon. However, Franklin's here. It's the end of the. It's normally time for Franklin to ask a question. Carla, hey there.
Good evening. I asked a question yesterday, and Blue said it would probably be more helpful to come here and ask. So my question is, can I use one computer to make a presentation and use the Obvio for the event itself?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I need to connect it to a TV or something? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me about your event a little bit, and sort of how many attendees do you expect and things like that.
Well, this is going to be also a tryout of Obvio. So it's next
Just testing.
Wednesday, no, Friday.
Mhm.
I'm going to be 50 years old, and I
Congratulations.
am and I have lots of friends that are not in Portugal.
Mhm.
So I decided, hell, I'm in the event of virtual events, so let's try this. Also
great.
to, you know, like test it how it goes.
Yeah.
And my account of Zoom, it's that's not paid, so it's only 45 minutes.
Right.
Hence using the Obvio for that.
So
Um,
brilliant. It's a perfect use case, and something that we really encourage people to do is find a low risk way of testing out, Obvio and your setups and all of that. And so it's perfect to have friends and family, and you're getting the idea of, a group of people coming into Obvio and what their experience is, and testing out some of your things. And if some things don't go quite right, that's fine, right? You won't have more. You wouldn't find more accommodating, accepting people than family and friends, right? So that's brilliant. It's a great
yeah.
use case. So then you want to share a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation or something into it. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm going to basically collect pictures of myself during all this time, and with the people that are attending, not the ones that are there in present, but all the others, and put some music, make some gags, and yeah, basically that's it. So, but I thought that maybe just with one computer
Yeah.
it will be too small, and I don't know if I can control, because if it's just sharing the presentation like in Zoom, or if it gets more complicated than that.
Yes. So let's split the question into the two experiences. There's the experience for the attendee, and there's your experience, right? It's how you're engaging with it. So from the attendee's point of view, with what you're talking about, screen sharing in Zoom would be totally appropriate and work really well, right? So at that point, are you would you be using PowerPoint, or is this on Mac? Is it Keynote, or what are you?
PowerPoint or Canvas, yeah.
Okay, yeah, Canvas, yeah, that's being used more and more now. So, but both of them, Canva as well as PowerPoint, will depending on if you have multiple screens. Do you have multiple screens set up? No, just one, just on your laptop. Yep. Okay. So what happens then is that you simply start the presentation, and then and you're on a PC, are you, or a Mac? It's PC.
Yes,
PC.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So are you familiar with the pressing Alt Tab to change between windows that are open? Is that something you're familiar with when you're? Nope. Okay. Have a
Sometimes I can do it,
okay.
but when I really want to do it in purpose, I can't.
So it's worth practicing this, right? So
Yeah.
that when you're in PowerPoint or Canva, you'll start the presentation. It'll go full screen, which means that you've lost Zoom, right? You've lost your
Yeah.
access to Zoom.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is hold. Sorry, just one moment. Sorry.
Yes.
What Grant is going to be describing is a way for you to switch between two different applications. And so if you bring the slides up, and Grant's going to teach you a shortcut you can use with your keyboard, where the slides, you can switch Zoom back to the foreground. So the slides are still running, but now they're behind Zoom.
Thanks, Muddy. Yeah, exactly. And so there's a holding down Alt on your keyboard and Tab, and then clicking Tab is a way of cycling through all of the programs that are open. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll go back to Zoom. As Muddy said, Zoom will come up on the forefront. And that's where you can now go to share screen, share your whole screen. Zoom will minimize, and it'll bring up a little bar, a little control bar that'll sit over the top that no one can see, only you can see. And now you're sharing your screen, and at that point, they'll be seeing your slides. And so
Will they be seeing me too?
They will still continue to see you. Yep. And what will happen too is that you'll have a little window that will show up of their faces as well, the people that have had their cameras on. And you can expand that out and sort of move that around and things like that. So there is some play that you can have there with still being able to see people's faces and have your slides. So
okay.
So from the attendees' perspective, they're sitting in Zoom, they can see all these faces, screen share happens and it takes up most of the screen. They can see all your images and your fun. And as long as when you've hit screen share, you're sharing computer audio as well to make sure that any music that you have in that presentation is also being played out, right? So once you do that, the attendee experience is great. They're seeing everything, they're hearing everything. They can still see you, and they can see the other people as well that are in that meeting. So that handles that. From your experience, on one screen is a little bit challenging, right? Because you've got a couple of things that are overlapping. You've got a Zoom control panel that is sitting there. You've got a gallery view window of people's faces. Now they can't see that. You can see that. What they're seeing is, what's underneath Zoom, which is your presentation. So that you play around with that. You can have a test of this by yourself where you open a Zoom meeting. You don't have to have anyone else in there for you to test how it's going to be for you, and just play around with that idea and see how that is for you. So if you were going to do anything else, you could, anything else gets a bit more complex, right? So you might find that that's all you need to do, but you could connect your laptop to another monitor or a TV or something, and that will give you a second screen, which now means that you can play around with those two surfaces. You're only sharing one screen, but your other screen can have your Zoom control and the Zoom gallery view and the things like that, right? You can move things around to give yourself a bit more space, and so that you can still see people while you're doing that.
Actually, that's what I was going to ask, because probably if I use the monitor and the laptop, I can do all the things in the laptop, and then everybody would be distracted with the screen, and I could be hopefully doing everything okay or not. But here the big thing that I would really like to share with you guys. Well, for me, everything is new, so this is probably something that has happened to you 1,000 or millions of times. But when I started to say, well, asking people, inviting them, and they say, "Oh no, I can't go to Lisbon," I say, "Cool. So we're going to do a virtual event. We're going to do what? Yeah, you guys are going to be also there with me, but on the screen." Huh, that's cool. I never thought of that, and the leap is coming. So I got really proud. I know it's a small step for a woman, but a huge step for humanity.
That's amazing.
Thank you for your help. Thank you too, Madi.
That's so good. And look, I would encourage you to that wherever possible, I think about where we are always, I try to think of it, that we're always on a journey of building our team, right? And that starts with just you, right? Like you're the team of one to start with.
Yeah.
But we're always thinking, how do I now double my team? How do I get my team to 2 people? Because it's game changing for any of your events. The moment that you can have one more person doing something for you, now you feel like it's more possible, and you've even seen it today. I normally have Heather, and sometimes we have and Blue as well, and we're able to bounce between things. It dramatically changes it. So for me, what it changes, having Heather, is that I can be engaging with the content, not thinking about what's coming next, and then I just say, "Hey Heather, what's next?" And I sit back, I take a drink. Heather reads out the next question. I take a breath. She's already thinking about what the next question is, right? See how all that changes? It's dramatically different. So in your case, and the birthday, it's a great use case for it. But even having a person that is with you, who's running the presentation, or is, someone that's just kind of helping, it would definitely mean that you would engage more with your friends and family and not be thinking about how to make PowerPoint work, or, clicking the wrong button, or the TV is not working now, or whatever. And it's where you lose your engagement with your friends and family at that point, right? And you want to stay present with them. And so it's just
they all think that I'm from another planet because when I say, "Oh, I'm going to do now, I have a meeting now at 10 o'clock in the evening."
Yeah, right.
But for what? Well, I'm learning this of the events and at this time of night. But what? Who is going there? Well, people from other countries that are mind like it and then are trying to do the same. So it's very hard. Well, I think pretty much everybody entrepreneur just want to do something different.
Yeah.
That challenge with people that don't understand really what you do.
Yeah. That's great. Look, and you're doing all the right stuff and asking the right questions, and it's just brilliant. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And would it be Feliz Aniversario? Feliz, is that right? Yeah.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cheers
That's it,
that.
though. That's all. That's it. That's all I've got.
It's perfect.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you so much.
No problems. You're welcome. Jeff, what have you got?
Hey, Grant, good to see you. So with the school pickup, I might need to take this offline because I feel like it's going to be a long one. So just the short story is I have people that keep coming into my attendee list from an event that's passed, and they're being registered with their name, both fields not being filled in. So as null in first name and last name, I have no idea how these people are getting in. So they just keep adding to the attendee list. And so I just cannot figure out, it was a paid event. And so I just have no idea how they're getting added.
Have you got any integrations? Is there anything connected?
There was Zapier originally, but that was triggered based off of a checkout purchase. So I can't imagine that interfering. And I already checked to make sure it wasn't connected to the wrong product and those sorts of things. So I can't find anything on the automation end.
Okay. Okay. If you can you take a couple of screenshots or something, or show, or just point me in the right direction?
Yep.
Because and actually, even with me leaving now, this is what I do anyway, because it sounds we did an update recently. It was a couple of months ago now, but it was quite a big shift in the way that our data works with the attendee data. And it's all about scaling, so it was moving from, it's actually still using a database system, but then it goes to a much more scalable system that keys and values and things that's different to a relational database. Okay. So, but we're using both. So we still have all or it's much more detailed than you need, but it helps to understand that there's a relational database that's going on that it's making everything work, and then there's this separate thing that kind of sits. It's almost like a cache, and it sits there, and it just allows everything to run really fast on the front end, and it needs to keep in sync, and it does. That's working great, but there could be something in this process somewhere there with past attendees, or someone using an old link or something that's finding a little loophole somehow. So I want to kind of dive into that a bit more and close the hole. So
yeah. I'll do a kind of a Loom video just with kind of how I observed it, and then what I've sort of done to investigate, just so you're not starting from square one. And I think that'll help us move a little faster. And in the meantime, I'll keep checking some automations just to see if something got triggered. But we're using such minimal automation on the back end for this right now that I feel like I've checked probably where I can check. So yeah, just a little confused.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a weird one. So all right, let's look into it and get it fixed for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sweet, no problems. Elizabeth, is there any trick to being able to use a laptop keyboard to put two different windows up? Muddy, are you able to take that question? It's just in the chat.
Yeah,
there.
Sure thing. So the question is around how. And I'm going to back up a minute because you had also asked about connecting an external screen. And Justin had a great response in there that some laptops have an HDMI port right on them. I've got one right behind me. And if it has an HDMI port on it, that's always an outgoing port. So all you need to do is connect that with an HDMI cable to another display. Now, if it doesn't have an HDMI port, as Justin mentioned, so a few years ago, all computers pretty much had an HDMI port. The more modern computers are getting rid of the HDMI port and are only using a USB-C port, which can do more things. And one of the things that it can do is send a signal to an external display, but you often need a little adapter to do that.
Connect one to the other.
Correct. And I have that while we're talking as well. One of the ones I like the most. It has USB-C on one end, but then on the adapter, it has an HDMI port that you can then plug into a TV.
Okay.
I'll send you the link for this one.
Oh, good. Okay.
And that lets you get an HDMI signal out to a display. So the physical connection is one part of it. Your next question that Grant was just queuing up actually has to do with the second part of it, because just connecting a display, your computer can be in basically two modes. One is called like mirror image mode, where the same thing you're seeing on your laptop is what's being shown on the TV. And so, yes, you have two screens, but they're both showing the same thing. What you want is, typically for this application that we're talking about, is you want that second monitor to be in extended mode. So it's actually separate content and you can move your mouse between the two monitors and you've just doubled your real estate. So once you have a physical display connected with an HDMI cable or an adapter and HDMI cable, the second thing, are you on a PC or a Mac?
PC.
Okay,
PC.
So on a PC, the easiest way to do this, and I'll just show you by just switching my camera to my desktop. If I right click on my desktop, it's probably small to see, but one of the options is called display settings. And when I bring up display settings, it actually allows me to, for each of the monitors, now this computer has 5 monitors connected to it, but for each of those monitors, when I click on it, I can come down here and say, do I want this to be extended or do I want this to be a duplicate and mirror image? So display settings are how you're going to assign what shows up on each screen, whether it's in extended mode or mirror image mode. So getting connected physically is the first step. And sometimes on the TV, you may have to change which input is being used in order to make, if modern TVs will often have 2 or 3 HDMI inputs. So you want to make sure if it's plugged into HDMI input 1, the TV is set to display input 1. And then you'll go into display settings. And it's similar on a Mac. You'll go to system property for others who may be on a Mac and experiencing this as well. You would go into system properties and then go to displays. And then when you go to that individual monitor, it'll be listed there. And that individual monitor, you can assign where it is. The other thing that's interesting and useful when you have multiple monitors is their arrangement or layout, like which one's on the left or which one's on the right, so that when your mouse moves, it doesn't all of a sudden pop up in some weird spot and you don't know how to get your mouse back. That same system properties that I was showing you, the display properties, you may have noticed that my monitors were basically in a 4-box grid with one tiny little, that's my teleprompter at the very top. But the 4-box grid, you can drag those and arrange them where you want. So now I know if I move my mouse up in this corner, it's going to be on this monitor, and move it down here. And so that's all done within display properties as well.
Cool. Thank you. That's really great. One last question follow to that is, so that's in showing how we can extend from one to the other and have different things on the screens, which was the question I asked. I also wonder, because I have at home a dumb TV, not a smart TV. It's not very smart TV. And I want to be able to screen mirror from my laptop to say, be able to watch whatever it is, or show the YouTube of you guys, this even training thing on a bigger screen. Is there a way to do that? Do I need to just get the HDMI?
Yeah, frankly, the dumber the better, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, dumb TVs are actually a lot easier to work with than smart TVs when it comes to this. And so, yes, the same. So
I would just connect them with the HDMI, and then what do I do to just mirror it up there? It's just showing the same thing.
Exactly, and that's probably the default setting when you first plug it in. It's probably going to show exactly what's on your laptop. So you may not have to do anything. You shouldn't have to do anything on the TV, period. As long as it's showing something on the TV, all of the settings that you would do would be on the laptop itself. And it's really just a matter of going into display settings and telling it that you want it to be a mirror image.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I'll look for that link for the adapter in the chat. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. And remember too, Elizabeth, that this is being recorded and that you can go back and listen to all of that again if you need to.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was going to take a picture of the little unit he had in his hand, but he said he put it in the chat. That's good enough.
Right. Yeah,
thank
so
you.
we purposely live stream to YouTube only for the reason of recording. And so all of these calls are recorded and you can go back over them. And because it's on YouTube, it's available straight away. So that's why we do that.
Is there a channel to find it on YouTube? You can go there directly?
Yeah, Obvio Online is what that is. And is the YouTube channel. And it also, when you go to you come to the dashboard to join this event, it's the playlist of all of these calls is right there. And so including this meeting right now, that the recording of this one. And so you can just go follow the link to join the meeting. It'll take you to the dashboard and you'll see the YouTube link right there. So you could do that.
If I went straight to YouTube, say on the television, and tried to type it in the search, it wouldn't be there though, right? Because it's a membership thing that you have to be a member to see.
No, these ones, yeah.
These are not?
So on the TV, you could do YouTube and you could do
just go straight
online.
To it.
Yeah, you could go Obvio online and you'd find it. Yep. So there's a couple of links there. Justin just put into and Muddy. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So I wanted to say, and this is Franklin, I'm answering your question from last week, and that is I'm going to try doing an 8 a.m. Eastern on Monday. So Monday, 8 a.m. Eastern, just doing another one of these calls, probably for an hour. And I'll just try that. So we'll try to send out. I'll put it in Facebook as well. But just to give another opportunity in different time slot and that will help some of our European friends as well be a bit early in the day. And we'll see how that goes. So if that's something that you like, people on the West Coast probably won't be so excited about a 5 a.m. call, but you can, we'll see how many people come to that. We used to alternate between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern each week, but we found that more people came on the 5 o'clock, but then a few people have been lost between the cracks there, I guess. And so we'll try to offer another one, and that gives us another time. Yeah, it is something like 10 o'clock at night for me. So that's fine. I'm here to serve. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to call it now, and if you can join us at 8 a.m. on Monday. Same links, everything will just work. Otherwise, we could see you next Wednesday at 5 p.m. So thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
This is when we all go into breakout rooms, right? Just kidding.
This is the parking lot.
See ya.
Security's pushing you out. Stop talking. Get out.
Bye, Grant. Thank you.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much, Grant.